What's up, guys? John from LinksWell, and it is episode 6 of LinksWell Together podcast. Let's get it going. Hey, what up, guys? That's right, episode 6. Big shout out. Thanks everybody who has been watching and subscribing. Remember, we still have that giveaway. We want to give away that radio. Got to hit 12.5K. And even if you're not a subscriber, you can sign up in different ways. But that link will be at the bottom. But I got Vic back with me today.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are going to be talking about LinksWell Amplifiers, which is, I think, one of the products that I'm almost very excited about that nobody, I think, knows about.
Yeah, you know, I felt that way initially. I said, what? Amplifiers too?
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I think everybody has the same reaction when they find out, oh, LinksWell does amps too.
Yeah.
But because it's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel. We really just want to make the process of you adding one of our radios into your vehicle with an amplified audio system that much better, easier, faster, more streamlined.
Yeah.
Right? And so at the same time, that's kind of, at first, that was my reaction. Wait, amps too? But then when I found out the concept behind it, I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It literally was that. It was just some of these guys that wanted a little bit more or something like that. So we went kind of looking for some guys that are really good at amplifiers and to partner up. And we've come up with some pretty cool amplifiers. I actually got to do the very first install. And it was in like a Dodge Ram stock radio. And I plugged in, we'll talk about the T-harnesses. I plugged in one of those T-harnesses, and man, that system woke up. Like a bone stock system. Yeah. And the little DSP amp, and I hadn't even messed with the DSP, like literally just plugged it in, and I was like, this thing doesn't even sound like the same truck. It was ridiculous. So then I got really excited, like, okay, we got some stuff here. So,
and that's just the concept behind it, you know what I mean? And now we have, 500, 1500.
Yeah, we got the big D classes that we just released.
Monoblocks.
Yep.
And, we're going to share that with you guys only because we think it's important, if you're an industry professional, that you have the ability to give your customers options, especially when it comes to, you're going to have those guys that are going to want to spend thousands of dollars as far as the audio system. And then you have those budget guys that all they want is what you just described. It's just, I want my factory speakers or my audio system is what they'll call it, right? Just to sound a little better. Yeah. And that's kind of where we come into play. We have in the plug and play T-harness, I think it's either like 5 or 6 different T-harnesses available that people can use. And I like that concept too because it makes that process so much easier. But what do you say we get started?
Yeah, man, I love it. Yeah, the T-harnesses are cool. Like probably my favorite part. And we've got two amplifiers that will work with those T-harnesses at a 4 and a 5 channel. Yeah,
the 4 and the 5 channel will work. You could do the 10 technically. But I mean, when you do the 10, you're adding subs and you're doing
and you'd have to end up chopping off the back end of the one plug because the 10 channel connects a little different. But we'll show you the 10 channel in a minute too. But
so here is the 4 channel. This is how big this thing is. Instead of saying how small this thing is,
it's so big.
So this is how big it is, guys. I mean, it fits in the palm of my hand, and really, I mean, you talk about inputs to this amplifier. It's not just a T-harness, John. I like how versatile it is because it has the high-level inputs, but you can also Bluetooth directly into it.
Which is really cool because that's how we have it on the bed of our truck at the shows. We just straight hook up your phone, no source needed. Yeah. Just your phone straight to it could be the source.
Exactly. So if you've seen our setup, a couple of the vehicles that we've built for our trade shows, these have independent audio systems in the truck bed, and it's independent from what's going on the inside. But the 4-channel, guys, I mean, this thing is really designed for you to simply add into the vehicle once you've installed one of our radios. And I'll show you the T-harness here. I kind of have it rolled up over here. So one end of the T-harness is going to go directly into the amplifier. And you could choose. I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about, is it signal sensing turn on? Does it have a remote turn on? Those are all given features and functions.
Yeah, most amplifiers now do.
Yep.
So ours does, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. So then here is the T-harness. I mean, this is for the newer Toyotas. We also have for the older Toyotas, the ones that have the 6 and 10 pin plug,
which fits like everything. Like Toyota's had that same harness since like the 80s.
Yes, exactly.
So it doesn't even, like, you could plug and play in a 84 Corolla.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is a straight pass-through T-harness behind the radio. And so it'll take the speaker level outputs of the LinksWell radio, or you can use the Toslink output of the LinksWell radio and take those two signals, high level in or Toslink input, into the 4-channel or the 5-channel. And that's how easy it is to add one of our 4-channel or 5 channels into a Toyota that's getting one of our radios.
Yep.
But here's the kicker.
What's the kicker?
People don't have to have our radios.
They don't.
Add either our 4-channel or if they want to add a subwoofer, the 5-channel.
Yeah. Yeah, for the guys, again, the ones that has the old dude in the F-150 or the Tundra who, didn't pay the money for the JBL, wants to put a little 10 or 8-inch in the back or something like that, and you just do this little simple little plug and play, hide this little itty-bitty amp under the seat. And night and day audio.
Yeah, people say, hey, you know what? I'd like my N-Tune Toyota radio.
Yeah.
And
which I don't know why they would say that.
I mean,
but
you know what I feel is when they just buy the car and they maybe, we talked about going from a single DIN to a flip-out screen.
Yeah.
People go from whatever they had, which maybe didn't have a screen, to now having a touch. It's the honeymoon stage.
The honeymoon stage. That's a good way of putting it. Your factory radio is cool for the honeymoon, but then you want to...
So people go, hey, I like my radio. I just want my speakers to sound a little better. Guess what? You can plug this T-harness directly into the back of the factory radio.
Yep.
Take the high-level output out of the factory radio, feed it into our 4-channel.
Yep.
And with the built-in DSP on the 4-channel, you could retune those factory speakers to sound better.
Really nice. So not only are you getting better power, cleaner power, but you're getting full control on your DSP. And I'm pretty sure the 4 and 5 is like a 32 band EQ.
Yes.
That's actually separatable. Like you can actually tweak 32 bands per channel.
Yes.
Or you can bridge them between front and rear, or all of them all together. Again, with crossovers and all that stuff. And the cool part too, again, about the T-harness is it's getting your inputs and your outputs. So, I mean, I came from a quick shop. Like we would do some custom work here and there, but most of it was like, the amount of 4-channel amplifiers I installed in tri-mode, where you would hook up the front 2 speakers and then a subwoofer and then leave the rears on the
intact,
radio. Like the amount of installs I did like that, right? Like, and you get behind the radio and you would run, 2 sets of speakers for your ins and outs. And when these came, I was like, this is brilliant, because like I could pull a factory radio out and just T-harness this thing in, and then this thing runs underneath under the seat, and I plug it in, and now my inputs, my outputs, my signal on, all of that stuff is
all day
done.
long.
I was like, this right here, like I would sell this to every customer that came to my shop, because my techs are going to get done faster. It's DSP, which means I can tweak it and really mess around with it. It's not super powerful. So anybody with those factory speakers, they're not going to have to deal with like overpowering and exploding speakers. Like I was like, I feel like this is a really marketable amplifier for the shops that are just doing a lot.
I mean,
like
it's a great solution.
High volume, not the big custom stuff. Obviously, we're not going to out SPL somebody. But we do have quite a bit to offer.
The harness length is 8 feet for those of you guys that are wondering.
Yep.
So it's long enough to reach any passenger side seat underneath the front seats. So the harness length is 8 feet long. And then this is the size difference between the 4-channel and the 5-channel. So you guys can take a look at it over here. I'll hold it up like this. So this is the 4 on my left and the 5 on my right. This is
actually our 500-watt D-class.
Oh, is it really?
It is.
Where's our 5-channel?
It's the same case. I don't know where it is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So this is good. 500 D-class monoblock,
which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes, that's coming right up. So 4-channel.
Yeah, and the 5-channel is basically the same case.
Yes.
Yeah, it just has another output on the backside.
For the subwoofer.
Yep.
So that's what that is. So, I mean, I like the fact that it's got the built-in DSP.
Oh, yeah, it's
plug-and-play T-harness.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to retune the factory speakers to only give me mids and highs and then I'm gonna warm up the sound with a nice 10-inch in there.
Yeah.
There's really no way. Once you know that this exists and you have the ability to do that. Personally, I don't think of why I would ever want to hardwire like you were doing before, right?
Yeah, there's no reason for it.
and that's kind of why we thought, you know what? It's an awesome concept. Plug and play T-harness, built-in DSP, 4-channel or 5-channel options.
Yep.
It's a no-brainer.
Yep. And then you've got the guys our 5-channel, right? It's like 150 watts on that 5th channel. So you're not putting a big woofer in there. You're not doing 210s. You'd have to do something separate. But you get one of our 4 channels, you use the T-harness, and we actually have a sub out. So you could actually use our DSP to tune the subwoofer out and then run that RCA to either one of our 500, 1,000, or 1,500 watt D classes. Or if you've got another brand that's going to do something that you want to do for a D class amp. So our amplifier could work as your high level adapter as well,
right?
Giving you a subwoofer output that you've been able to tweak and really kind of play around with within the amplifier's DSP.
Yep.
And so you're able to, even if you got to sell it in increments, like, oh, yeah, let me do the 4-channel now. A customer gets to like, oh, man, I want a little bit more bass. Now you've got this 4-channel in there. You just literally run that RCA over. We even give you a remote trigger output from the radio.
Right.
So we'll be able to give you a remote and it's all super easy. You put that other subwoofer in box, and now you've got a DSP like tuned, mid-range and highs, and you've got some power going to your subwoofers, which again is crossed over and set up the way it's supposed to be. From a marketing point, from a guy that's ran sales, from a guy that's done the installs, like this setup, I really feel is like something that could get into a shop and really do some really good work and maybe make some sales that you couldn't have. Because like our 400 by 4, with the DSP, I think is only like $400 as MSRP is like $450 or something like that. So for $400, you get a 400 watt amp with a DSP built in it.
Yeah.
And like you can put this in a side-by-side or something like that where they don't want a radio, you just want a Bluetooth straight to it from your phone. There's a lot of options. And then, sneak is we're actually working on an 8-channel that will be waterproof for the boats and whatnot. So that'll be coming pretty soon too. With the same thing where that 4-channel can go, or the 8-channel can be 8, 6, 7, 5 or 4 channels depending on how you wire it. Like we're going to give you an opportunity to really just kind of take one amplifier and make it across the board a bunch of different installs.
Exactly.
But again, this is just us trying to think outside the box. We're both tech guys, we're both sales guys, so we've been in the pits of all of it.
I mean, we've been in the front of the bay, we've been in the back of the bay, we've been in between the bay.
Yeah. And so just knowing the experience, there's some insight into that. And as we talked about, I think episode 1 or 2, we just talked about how our engineering department responds to our intake or our input because they value our input and want to make what we want.
That's a good point. And I think it's key because when you have industry guys that are behind product development, you're bringing to the industry stuff that we want. It's like, oh my God, I've always wanted to have this in the bay whenever we were doing this or we were doing that. So I think it's key that you say that. But my favorite one out of all these amplifiers, as far as
it's probably the same as me.
I mean, this guy right here, this is our 10-channel, guys. Take a look at this. And I'm gonna hold it vertical like this.
So you can
it may not even fit in the frame.
Yeah, there you go.
But
you're there.
2 hands.
Here
it is. I'm gonna cover my face. So 2 hands, high level in.
Yep.
Low level in.
Yep.
Toslink fiber optic in.
Yep.
Bluetooth in.
Yep.
I mean, what doesn't this thing have?
I'm telling you. So and I love this amp because we've done it. We even used this in so many different applications. Like the first one we ever got went into our Jeep, and we kept the Jeep with the stock speakers, right? The 4-inch. So I actually broke apart and did 8 channels in there, ran 2 10-inch JL stealth boxes in the back.
I remember
and
those.
It rocked. Like people got in that Jeep and were like blown away that it was stock speakers and just those 2 10s. And then we started to develop the big D classes, and we were like, all right, well, if we're going to do D class, we're going to have to up the subwoofers. And so then we rewired it, and we went all out in the front, and we did 3-ways in the front of the Jeep, and now the Jeep soundbar's got 4 8s and 4 4s in it, and 1 10-channel is running 4 8s, 4 4s, a set of 6.5s, a set of 3-inch mid-range, and some tweeters, all off the 10-channel, and it cranks.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, not only cranks, but it's clean. Like it's crisp and nice.
I did leave one feature out.
What's that?
Internal summing.
Yes. Yes.
So for those of you who are challenged with, three-way signal in the front of a factory audio system, you can take the 3 channels on the left, the 3 channels on the right, feed them directly into here, sum it all up so that it gives you your outputs.
Whatever you need. Yep.
And it's all there for you. So that's what I like about this. And, you talking about leaving stock speakers. It happened to me. I have an 07 Dodge Ram, and I felt, let me add the 10 channel in there with our universal 13-inch, which also has Toslink output.
Yes,
and I
it
fed
does.
that directly into here. And I thought maybe I should replace my door speakers. Maybe I should leave them in. What the heck? I'm gonna leave them there, right?
Yeah.
So all I did, like you, I added a set of 3-inch mids on my dash with a pair of tweeters, and I'm using 6 channels in the front for 3-way setup.
Yep.
I'm using full range in my 2 rear doors.
Yep.
And I'm bridging channels 9 and 10 out of this amp for 300 watts RMS to a couple of 10-inch kickers under the back seat.
Yep.
And the same thing, people get into like, how does this thing sound
so
clean,
good? I know,
man?
I know. Well, yeah, and that's what I love about the amp is so channels 9 and 10 can bridge, 7 and 8 can bridge. So you can knock it down to 6 channels.
Yep, 6 channels plus 2 300 watt RMS outputs. So you have a total of 600 watts RMS for subs, and then you have your 6 channels to do whatever you want
inside. Yep. So like our Tacoma is running just the amplifier, and so we are passive crossovering between the mid-range and tweeters.
Yes.
And then we have the woofers or the mid basses
separately
doors, on the front and rear. So each stage inside the truck is running 2 channels. So we have 8 channels inside the cab, and then 9 and 10 are bridged for that 110 in the back of that Tacoma. And that Tacoma cranks, man.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's mind-blowing what one little, I mean, it's not really little, but, one amplifier, like for the...
But 1 amp.
Yeah,
I mean,
1 amp.
It's a clean install because now you don't have to split your power back there
Yep.
or your remotes or everything else that you have to split. It's just 1 amp doing it all for you.
Yep.
You could build a decent audio system off of this 10 channel.
Oh,
I mean, the kind of bass that I was after in my 20s obviously is different from the kind of bass that I enjoy now in my 40s.
Really? I'm still kind of a bass head, man. I keep telling myself that, hey, John, you're older. You're older. You don't need 415s and a Honda CRX, right? Like, that's what my brain keeps telling me. But then when I get in it and I build a system with just like a 12 or a 10, I just find myself like, I don't know why I did this. This is a bad idea.
I guess it's the kind of music that I used to listen to back then and what I listen to now.
I want all the bass.
I went from an SPL to an SQ guy, so I don't know. Both. Yeah, no, it's definitely.
I want my ears to bleed equally. I want as much tweeter blood as I do woofer blood.
Yeah.
But what makes this 10 channel so able is the app. Right?
Yes.
Is being able to adjust everything. So just like we talked about with the app on the 4 and 5 channel, you have separate inputs, EQs. So each channel can have its own EQ. It's about, I think it's 16 bands on the 10. So you could actually EQ each individually. You've got your high and low passive crossovers. And then you talked about the summing and all of that stuff. And I actually think we could probably open up the app if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just show them the app real quick and just kind of a couple quick features that are really cool.
Yeah, so this is the page that will open up as soon as the app is available through Apple
and Google Play.
Yep, Google Store. So iOS and Android, you could get it on either one of those platforms. And I'll just show you, this is what the app looks like here. So you could see it. It's this one. Right, and let me just hit done just so you get out of it.
Yep, and the icon will look the same. There's 2 apps.
Yes.
One's for the 10 channel. One's going to be for the 4 and 5 channel.
Correct.
And you'll see like a 10 on the one that's the 10
It'll say
channel.
DSP 10.
Yep.
So this is the, it'll say LinksWell 10 actually. So this is the home page to the app where it says connected in green. It'll say connect and it'll be a red bar.
Yeah, you just tap it. And
you tap it, and then off to the right where it says auto is where you'll be able to select what kind of input you want to feed into the amplifier itself, and then you hit the check mark so that you choose that option. And then so in here where you have routing, this is where you're gonna tell what you want channel 1 to do, what you want channel 2 to do. So this is where you're going to be assigning all of your different channels. This happens to be the map that I have for my RAM. So my front channels, like channels 1 and 2, are my tweeters. 3 and 4 are my 3-inch mids. 5 and 6 are my low mid basses in the doors up front. 7 and 8 are my full range speakers in the back. And then 9 and 10 are bridge for sub.
Yep.
So this is how I have the outputs of the amplifier mapped out for my truck. And then if you go back, and then over here you now have where it says output. This is the EQ for each independent channel. So this is where I've got my EQ set up for channels 1 and 2. And if you hit the combine button all the way to the right, it asks you, as you're tuning channel 1,
if you want to match
we
2.
also want to adjust channel 2. So you go from left to right. So as I'm adjusting channel 1, I'm also adjusting channel 2. Same thing with 3 and 4, 5 and 6,
Yep.
right? 7 and 8.
And one really cool thing about the EQ is all those 16 bands, you can actually change which band you're changing.
100%.
Which means
Yes.
if you wanted to, you could actually clump all 16 of those bands within your crossover points.
Yes.
So when you do a three-way system and you've crossed over your tweeters,
Yep.
you could literally shove all 16 points into your bandwidth.
Exactly.
And adjust like
You can
I don't know that I
fine-tune this
have
thing.
yes, I don't know that I have the patience to do it. I know there are folks out there who do. But you could literally do that, and then the mid-range, same thing, you could grab all
Yes.
16 points and bring them in. So I love the fact that our EQ is not a fixed EQ.
Correct.
Because you're able to adjust which frequencies you want to, which means that fine tuning really is.
Yeah,
is
so if you look over
there.
here, for example, band number 15 is set up to adjust my 16,000 hertz. I can make that come all the way to and make that 15th band adjust a different frequency.
Yep.
So you can take it back and forth, and you can make, like you were saying, you can clump it all up so that all 16 bands
are where you're
are
actually
like
adjusting
super
per
fine-tuned.
channel. Yeah.
Yep.
So if your channel's playing these frequencies, you can literally shove all 16 bands in there and adjust just the frequencies that channel's playing.
Yes.
And it's super cool. And then when it comes to the routing, you could literally run all 10 channels on one input.
Yep.
Because when you go in there and you select this is the speaker output, and then you tell it what input you want it to come from, whether you want it to come from input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8.
Like over here, for example, where it says channel 1, front left, high frequency. You see on the right, it says input channel 1. I could go to then channel 2, channel 3, and I can tell it, just grab the signal from channel 1.
Yep. So that's how we can take 6 channels or 3 channels
left and right.
1. Yeah. So when you set up your routing and you're going, this is left front tweeter from input 1. This is left front mid from input 1. This is that way when your music is playing and you've got, music that's going to play front stage, rear stage, and all that, you still have all the imaging. Because every speaker's getting it. And this is the best. You're not Ying RCAs. Like you don't have to sit there with a whole bunch of RCA Ys.
Right.
You don't have to run extra RCAs. If you're going to do high level in, you're running your basic normal 3 sets of RCAs and then letting the amplifier decide what's going where. And that's how you would do the signal summing. So on the other end of things, so if you were high level in instead of low level, and you would grab the tweeter in the mid range, those would be channels 1 and 2, and then you wanted your output to be full range, then you would say, hey, get your signal from 1 and 2. And then the output would do that. So the signal summing can go both ways.
Yes.
Super easy in the app.
because you're bringing in your high, you're bringing in your mid, and then you're bringing in your low, and those 3 frequencies from 3 different sources become 1.
Yep.
So, it's amazing, guys. And my favorite part, too, is being able to do this while you're listening to it all, because it's cool that
from
you can
inside, not in the trunk.
Exactly. Or you have to be with a laptop off to the side. Like I get it, those programs are also very cool, but I don't want to have to go back and forth between my laptop and the car. I want to be in the car tuning it as I'm listening to it, because one thing that trips people out when I do this is, for example, from the home screen, I'll touch the phase. And what I like about this setup too is it's very forgiving.
Yes.
Right? So if you get in and you go, let me mute all of my channels, and I don't know if we have the screen up there, but I'll show you. This is the gain and phase page of the app. I'm going to mute my subs. So I'll hit mute here. I'm going to mute my rears. I'm going to mute my front doors. I'm going to mute my top mids. And then I'm going to mute my tweeters. So this is the way I normally go about tuning the 10 channel. Is I'll mute everything and then I'll start 2 channels at a time with my tweeters, and then I'll go to the EQ.
Yep, tweak it out.
Exactly.
Mute it back out.
And if at this point you go, wait a second, they sound out of phase.
Yeah.
You can change the phase
Click
on this page, and then you go,
Bing.
voila, it's there, right?
Which means you can change phase per channel.
Yes.
And not a clump of channels.
And if you could tell, my dash speakers, the left side is at 180 because I picked up on that. And I'm like, wait a minute, did I wire that one up wrong? And, yep, I sure did. Boop, changed it right there, and there it is. It's the only one that's sitting at 180. So I reversed the phase on that, and now it sounds amazing.
Yep, and that's where your gains are.
Exactly.
Yep. So like on
per
the Jeep,
channel.
Yep, on the Jeep, that rear sound bar is like 4 inches from your ears. So I have the Jeep's rears turned down a little bit.
Yes.
For when I'm driving, and then when we get to a show, I hit the other button and it cranks it back up, so it's nice and loud.
Yes.
But that's another thing that's really nice is once you've done all the tuning. So if you've got a customer and you've gone in there now, you decide whether you want to tell your customer or not if there's an app, right? Like I think that's a common question is, hey, can we lock it? We don't necessarily have a lock, but you don't necessarily have to tell them it has an app either. That's kind of your call. But even if they do get an app, you can actually set the DSP up how it needs to be set up and then save it. And you could actually save it into your own device.
Correct.
Name it.
Yes.
And then if that customer comes back and says, hey, I messed this thing up, you just got to pair it back up. And then you go in there and select load file. And then it will reset everything like that.
Correct.
Just like the thing you took 2 hours to tune.
Yeah, so you can save it both on the phone and on the amp itself.
In the amp, yep.
So if you look at the buttons on the bottom of the app, you have save to amp, save the phone, load file, or you can choose any one of the favorites. Like if you've got multiple tunes and you go,
this is my bass.
Do you like this one?
Yeah,
do you like that one? So it's almost like preset EQ settings, right? Yep. So you could do that. Or you can save it to the phone. When you hit save the phone, you can just put the file name, like, so-and-so's customer's F-150, and then you press OK. Or when you want to load the file, you load it, like these are the different ones that I have saved, and then you just pick one, and it'll load all those settings into the amp, and off you go.
Yeah, done deal, which is really nice, especially for a shop that's doing a lot, right?
Yes.
Like the amount of guys that, we would put something in, they would tweak with the EQ or the crossovers on the amp. So we have no physical control, no physical things. We have like an input gain. That's not going to do a whole lot if the customers mess around with the input gain adjustment. But the rest of it's happening inside the app itself, and so you can lock it up. And one thing, just because it's there, it is a Bluetooth app, which means you could actually put the app on one of our radios. So if you happen to put one of our DSP radio amps in with one of our radios, you could actually put the app on the radio, and you'd be able to do all of these controls and whatnot on the radio too.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
It's there. It's an
there.
option.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's something you want to do.
I do that on my radio, but I don't know if I'll do it on my customer's radio.
Yeah, I think it would depend on your customer.
Yeah.
And I mean, ultimately, I'm hoping that some of our products end up in some of your guys' cars too. Like we're techs. We're telling you it's good. Like pretty happy with it. So those are the DSPs. Like I said, so many features, phase control, time alignment. All of them have time alignment.
Correct.
Then you've got the really cool dynamic bass and treble.
Yes.
Where those are gains for you that are adjustable. So you turn those gains up, and what it does is it raises bass or treble at low volumes, and then as your customer turns the stereo up and the volume goes up, those gains go down. So it's for those guys that would normally want to crank up the bass knob and have a lot of bass at low volumes, and then when they turn it up really loud, their speakers want to blow themselves out of the basket. So what this does is this kind of helps that, like, it gives them a little bit more at the low end, but then protects it at the high end, kind of a thing. So if you got one of those guys, that's a cool little feature on there. And again, being able to Bluetooth straight to it, which is really nice. I'm telling you, if you haven't tried one, I would challenge you to try one. If you haven't heard one, come by one of the shows we're at, and you can sit into any of our vehicles. All of our vehicles run our amplifiers, varying when it comes to speakers. Usually it's kicker, but or we've even got a display with a factory Scion radio that's actually like I love seeing people's faces because we've got it wired up with just some components and a little woofer, and you listen to something on the radio itself. And you're like, okay, and then you just push the button, which turns the amp on, which like all the relays, like a display board, right? It like clicks over, and then everybody's face is like, what the, like, where did that come from? It's like incredible what this little
the 5 channels in there.
That little 5-channel powers through like instantly. You're just like, holy cow! And that is a simple way for you to like even demo it to your customer, like, hey, like check this out. Let me show you just how cool this is, and. Bear with me, guys. Apparently, I have an alarm. There we go. Podcasting 101. Make sure your phone's muted. But yeah, so there's just so many things. So I really hope if you guys haven't heard it, come hear one. Check them out. And maybe get one in your car because they are quite cool.
I agree.
Yeah, we'll give one away probably. Maybe that'll be our next giveaway after we hit that 12.5K. But on top of the DSP amps, we also came out just recently. I mean, like a month maybe.
If that,
Yeah, we just dropped 3 different D-class amps.
Yes.
So we've got a 500 watt, 1,000 watts,
and
a 1,500 watt D-class amp. And they're just your standard D-class amp. But one thing that is quite what I love is the fact that these guys will do 1 ohm.
1 ohm stable.
Yeah, this is our 1,000 and our 500.
Yep.
And we got both our F-150 and our Jeep. The subwoofers are running through these the D-class, and they're both at 1 ohm. And as I mentioned, I am.
How many 8s are in the F-150?
4.
It's 4 8s.
Yeah. The F-150's got the 4 L7 somethings.
Yes.
I don't remember which L7s. And then the Jeep has 2 L7 8s, 10s. I don't know, something
one
like
of those two.
And yeah, you said I crank it, man. Like
I do too.
Like I come in the parking lot hot. I want that mess to be loud. So these D-class amps are running both of them are at 1 ohm, and they run hard and they run long, and they've been in there about over a year, and I think that's a big thing. Like I can remember like 1 ohm stable. Most amps don't do that. It was like an Orion Red thing back in the day.
Yes.
So when our engineer team said, hey, we've got these, and they were giving us the spec numbers, they're like, this is what we think we can pull off. And I was like, wait, is that actually 1 ohm? Like, are you actually giving me a 1 ohm stable amplifier? Because if you're actually giving me a 1 ohm stable amplifier, I don't know why, to be honest with you, I get so excited about that. I think it's literally because I know that it's just not normal. I don't know that it's any better than being at 2 ohms, to be honest with you.
It might just be a mental thing.
You know what? I just think it's
a psychological thing. It's like, I'm running at 1 ohm.
I got it at 1 ohm, baby. I don't know. That could totally
be.
Yeah, it could totally be my problem. But anyways, 1 ohm stable, man. That's cool, right?
Hey. I mean, it's a bragging thing.
Yeah.
People, hey, how many ohms are you running? I'm at 1 ohm.
I'm at 1 ohm. Yeah. So, yeah, the 5-channel, 4-channel, with some plug-and-play harnesses.
Yes.
So you can make our install for one of our T-Styles super easy. You could do it with a factory radio really easy. Then you got the big bad 5 or 10-channel, which, again, I'm telling you, it really is. I don't want to try and oversell it, but at the same time, I do want to oversell it because it is a nice amplifier. It sounds good with your high-level ins, toss-link in, low-level in. It's got all of that stuff, all of the summing, the amount of control you have within the amplifier. And then, you could couple that with one of our D classes. 1,500 watts is quite a bit.
Yeah.
You can run some pretty good stuff with that. So your plug and play, your 4-channel into one of our 500s. Like there's just there's a lot. Like as much as we do to do some like these T-style radios and stuff. Like
I mean, if you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
Which I'm assuming a lot of you guys out there know what you're doing. You're gonna be impressed.
I think so.
And even people who don't know what they're doing and get a chance to listen to your audio system with this 10-channel or any one of the other ones will also be impressed.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's because that's the reaction we have gotten when people are in the car and they're like, damn, this sounds good. Even at a low volume, so I'm like, that's nothing. Yeah. You crank it up and they're like, what?
It just keeps going.
Yeah.
Tick, 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 tick,
Yeah.
tick. You're waiting to hit that ceiling and it just doesn't feel like it does.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact that I could max the volume out on my radio and there's no distortion.
Yeah. No, it's super clean.
It sounds really good. There's no distortion. And I just like being able to do that. And the crazy part is it doesn't matter what genre music I'm listening to.
No, it doesn't. No, it plays it all well. Bass, rock,
yeah.
rap,
All it needs is
jazz.
you're gonna turn up the volume or not,
Yeah.
and whatever you decide to do, the amp and the audio system is perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, and I mean we're talking like $400 for a 4-channel, $500 for a
under 5
channel.
Under 5, you're getting a 5 or a 4 channel with DSP.
Yeah.
And I mean, really,
$60-$70 for a plug and play harness.
Yeah.
Now your install's super easy. You run your power and ground and plug in the T harness, and your customer will be I promise you, nobody that you put in, unless they are a legit audiophile looking for a complete build, nobody that you put one of these radio amps in is gonna drive away feeling like it's not better.
And depending on the shop, and the kind of business you run, that's probably gonna be 85% of your customers are going to be okay with something like this.
Yep.
The other 15%, like John said, are looking for a specific type of build.
Yeah, that you're going all out and you're putting 3-ways and you're doing all the custom box or whatever. But yeah, man, that's LinksWell amplifiers. For those of you who didn't know, we have LinksWell amplifiers. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Do those typical podcasty thingies. And check it down on the link, man. Click the link. We want to give away a radio. As soon as we hit that 12.5K, we'll get some people in there. And, yeah, I don't know what we're going to talk about next. Something cool. Maybe we'll bring in another guest.
Yeah, or leave us a comment. Let us know if there's anything specifically
what you guys want to see.
You want to hear about.
Yeah, we'd love to know what you guys want to know. But, yeah, there it is, guys. LinksWell, amplifiers, DSP, big monoblocks. We got it all. Get yourself a cool radio along with a good sounding amp. We are LinksWell, John and Vic.
Let's do it.
Thanks for hanging, guys.